Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel, where today you join me with a Mini Cooper on the channel. Now prior to this, the only experience I've ever had with a Mini is four-man piling into my friend's old Austin Mini Cooper at college. Thing was about this big, so fitting four people in it on the way to McDonald's for lunch was quite a laugh. But prior to that, I know nothing about them. So this is a first for me, but this one is my mummy's car, so she's going to watch this later and be like, oh. So yeah, thanks mum. So this is obviously her brand new car. She's lent it to me for the day just so I can get some filming done on it. So this one is a Mini Cooper exclusive, and yeah, we'll just sort of run through it. So obviously back in the day, the original Mini was probably about this big. You could fit your shoe in it and that'd be about it. Whereas now, obviously, they've grown a little bit in size. They're still a fairly small car on the road, but inside you've got a lot more luxuries. They're built for more comfort nowadays. They're a city car. And obviously you get the John Cooper Works, which is the all-out sport version of it. And what some people have done to them is crazy power. I can't remember what one of the brands was that took the John Cooper Works and tuned it up to like 380 odd horsepower with a supercharged engine. It's madness. But this one is obviously the exclusive model, so it's not built for speed, it's more comfort. Obviously, like I said, it's mummy's car, so she wants it for a nice little run around. So that means obviously we've got the baby engine, the little 1.5 cylinder turbo 3-cylinder engine. It's only 136 horsepower, but as it's been known throughout the ages, Minis do not need a lot of power to have fun with. I think the original one come with something like 40 horsepower, 50. This has got 136. That's a perfect amount of power. You don't need much more than that really for something that weighs, well, next to nothing. Now, before we go any further with this video, could I kindly ask if you could like this video, leave a comment down below whether you'd like a Mini and what spec, and if you wouldn't mind going out your way a little bit more, just give me a follow on Instagram and the link below. So if we come around to this side, as standard, we got the 18-inch alloys in the British style, Union Jack British style flag design. And then if we go around to the back as well, we've also got the Union Jag style rear tail lights. I've always found it a little bit cheesy, the whole sort of British flag in the wheels and the tail lights and that, but I guess it's kind of the whole, although it's not British because it's part of the BMW group, it's more German, but it's made in Oxford, and Minis have always sort of been part of that British culture, I guess. So it's kind of like, yeah, I get where they're going with the Union Jag styling and everything. So depending on how the camera is picking up the paintwork, this is actually, but it's called like enigmatic black. So when the sun is on it, there is actually a shade of blue into the paintwork. So it probably would show up pretty nicely in the sun. But now, as I said, obviously Minis is sort of part of the BMW group, so throughout the car there are sort of hints of BMW design. Like straight away we can tell on the headlights here, they are sort of the same LED matrix lights that you can see on some of the BMW ranges, sort of the adaptive LED range they have, and you can sort of see that in the headlights there. It is on the stalk for the lights control on the instrument cluster as well. Now, obviously being a Mini, like I said, it's a small car, so size is an issue for some people. I'm 5'9", probably average height, so if I stand up, the car is all the way down there. Now straight away what I found is that obviously it's only a two-door, so trying to get some people in the back's quite a mission. Straight away you have to lean quite far back to get to the seat handle, and then even then if we try and get in the back, oh, I don't think, and then obviously the seat is in my driving position. If I pull the seat back for the driver to get in, I have no room at all. So going for more than a drive around town is going to be quite unpleasant for my legs. It wouldn't mind being picked up from the pub in, but other than that, a long journey is not going to be that comfortable. Although headroom for me isn't too much of an issue, which is quite nice. And the seats are actually very comfy in this Chester grey. But if we climb out the back and jump into the front, then for a driving position, it is actually really nice. Everything seems quite balanced, if that makes sense, proportional, except for the dashboard, because from the outside, obviously the front of the Mini is only yay big for a little engine. But when you actually sit in the car, it's quite deceiving, because the glass and the back of the dash is all the way back there. So looking over the dash and the bonnet, it actually feels like quite a long car from the front. But interior wise, this is where you start to see a bit more BMW, like the gear selector here. That is off most modern BMWs now, with the same styling of gear select. Although I've always been a fan of avionic buttons in cars, like these switches that you just press. Especially the start stop in the middle. I quite like that, although it probably could be mistaken for the hazard lights if you're not used to it. Maybe just driving along, someone lets you out and out of courtesy you give them a flash of the hazards, you might accidentally press the start stop instead of the hazard button up here. It could happen. Another bit of BMW design is the infotainment and menu selects for your options for your car. It's a slightly different design, they've rounded it off, but you can see it's pretty much the same design as most BMWs nowadays. And then last of all, we've got a nice little two-piece panoramic roof, which actually makes the car feel a lot more spacious. And I've always been a fan of panoramic roofs, letting that bit of extra sunlight in the summer, and yeah, just makes it more enjoyable. One thing I do really like about the centre console and the instrument cluster is how sort of funky they've made the design to match sort of the RPM of the engine, and how they've sort of built in this light bar, the surround light bar, to be part of the car. So it's an RPM gauge, but it's also your reverse parking sensor warning system, which I actually think is quite a good idea. It's not just the bleeping and the audio that you get from the speakers, it's also a massive red symbol to say stop, you're going to hit something. But I really like this borderless instrument cluster as well, and it's sort of like a matte, a satin finish. There's no sort of digital glareness in your face. I don't know, I've never seen one quite like it before. If we come around to the back of the car just to have a quick look in the boot, I mean, it's a Mini, so I don't know what you're expecting. A few bags of shopping maybe. It's a little bit more spacious than I was expecting originally, and again they've put the little false floor in there as well, so you get a little bit deeper pockets, which, you know, always comes in handy. So it's not too bad, but don't expect to be getting like more than one suitcase in there, or you're definitely not getting a pram in there, maybe unless it's a really fold up one. I don't know. Now at this point of the video, it's time to go for a drive. Now this is the point where my mum starts going, oh my god, my car, because she never drives above 2,500 RPM, and yeah, she's just not gonna like it. This will be the hardest the car will ever be driven. So one of the things I noticed straight away is that the steering, it's a little bit heavier than most cars, considering most cars like this are city cars, town cars, and nowadays most cars that come out sort of have a light city mode, where when you drop below 20 miles per hour the steering wheel goes really light into, well, I can get a city mode just to make steering easier, whereas this doesn't. It feels pretty, not heavy, but it feels like it could definitely be lightened up a little bit, and it might sort of, for some people, be a bit of effort. But saying that, I think, let's put it into sport mode. I feel like when you sort of want to have a bit of fun with it, that heavier steering sort of benefits you more, because it feels like you get a bit more control and feedback. So being exclusive, it's nothing too special, but in sports mode it picks up fairly well, considering it's the baby engine of the range, only 136 horsepower, and it's a nice economical unbalanced 3-cylinder turbo. There's not much sound to it. You just sort of get the noise of the engine. But that's one good thing about minis, that they're small and they're light, and they've never needed that much power to have fun with. And being a mini, they've always been like a go-kart at the range. That might be a problem I've just found, is that the steering wheel's a little bit too small. And your hands overlap the radio controls, and I've just been holding the volume button down while I'm going through that corner without even realising it, because they're sort of flat into the steering wheel and they're not like a protruding button that you can feel your way over. My palm was just resting against it. The brakes aren't too bad. They're not the sharpest, but again, from the baby car of the range, what do you expect? But there's still enough performance in them to get you to stop before the bend. But I suppose we could always go into manual shift, and we could downshift a gear or two. Try and put your foot down and build up some speed, but yeah, it's not too bad. It's definitely enough power to live with and have fun with. I feel like if you was out on more straighter roads, you're obviously going to notice and you're going to get left behind a bit, but if you want to go out for a little morning blast around some B roads in the morning, 136 horsepower is plenty enough to have some fun with. I'd say the suspension is pretty well set up as well. It's not massive amounts of body roll through the corners. Obviously, I can imagine a John Cooper Works is probably set up slightly stiffer, but even so, there's not that much weight to throw around in a mini. So even on a standard suspension, there's not that much body roll. Around town, it's still pretty comfortable, but through the lanes, when you want to have some fun, it's still firm enough to be a fairly good setup for the road. Sort of hear that asthmatic 1.5 litre. It's not too bad. I'd like a bit more, maybe a bit more exhaust noise, but for Mumsy's car, it's definitely fine. Is a go-kart. I mean, even on this straight bit of road, like there's a bit of roll, but they are go-karts at the end of the day. I mean, a John Cooper Works would be even more so. So I'd like to try one of them, and we might have one lined up for a few weeks or so, I guess. We'll wait and see. But for now, we'll just enjoy Mum's car home. Try not to use too much of her petrol. I'll fill it up for her to say thank you. So one of the avionics switches that I like so much right next to my knee down here is your driver's mode. So you've got your mid, which is obviously like your comfort, your normal mode that the car starts up in, and then you've got green and sports mode. I haven't played around with them too much because I think because of the size of the engine that the car already has, it's not really going to matter whether you're in green or sports mode to get that much more economical effect. I mean, it might do on the longer runs, but again, for around town, I don't think it's going to make too much of a difference. I think you just get a bit more throttle response in the sport, as well as the sport modes as well. You do get some nice ambient lighting around the car of a night time when the lights are on. So when you do change from green or mid and go into sports mode, everything goes red, which just shows that little bit more aggression. The green mode's sort of lacking quite a bit of throttle response, so driving around town, if you want to pull off a junction or a roundabout, I feel like it's going to take a good half a second to decide what it wants to do. Whereas the sports mode is obviously better throttle response, but even so, it's still a little bit of a delay. Like I said, there's a little amount of power, so it's barely got enough power to break traction. But power and performance aside, just using it as an everyday car, you get quite a lot of kit as standard. I mean, there's lane assist, there's cruise control, there's dual climate control, air conditioning, heated seats. So it's a nice little car to be in. It's nice and airy. I was going to say spacious, but it's not that spacious. But the seats are nice and comfortable, and the bolsters aren't too intrusive into your sides of your body. I mean, at the end of the day, like I was saying, because it's part of the BMW group and there are parts of BMW all around, the build quality is good. You know it's going to be reliable because it's of the German quality. When it comes to manoeuvrability around the car park and things like that, it's going to be nice and easy as well, because you can see all four corners reasonably well. I mean, the bulge on the bonnet on each side, you know that's where the headlights are. You know on the rear pillars, that's where the tail lights are in the corners, because it's quite a flat back. So you could probably have a fairly easy life with reversing it into parking spaces. Just, you know, you're looking at that corner and that is the corner. You haven't got half a metre of car sticking out behind it. I mean, it does come with reverse parking sensors and a reverse camera as well. So again, well equipped. There should be no reason why anyone should have any issues. Now, as usual at this part of the video, we start heading back into civilization. So my test route is coming to an end. So if you enjoyed this video, leave a like and a comment, and what you thought of this Mini. Again, what Mini would you spec if you were going to look at one? I mean, I know I'd go for the John Cooper Works just because I'm a bit of a hooligan and I like the power and the fun, but this is a great car all-rounder really. So yeah, let me know on your thoughts below. Thanks for watching this video, and I will see you on the next one very soon. Cheers, bye.